Time to first byte is a measure of the time that elapses between a HTTP request and the first byte being received by the browser. This is generally used as an indication of the responsiveness of the server a site is hosted on. Moz.com, a highly respected name in the world of SEO, published a study back in 2013 where they claimed to have found a strong correlation between faster time to first byte and higher rankings. So, time to first byte is a very important metric. Before a browser can receive that first byte from your site, a DNS lookup has to happen. A request is sent to a domain name server or a DNS server, which translates the URL a user types in to the corresponding numerical IP address. Routers use this numerical IP address to channel data to and from the user. And after the DNS lookup, the initial connection has to happen. Only then will your user's browser be able to receive the first byte. Time to first byte is also influenced by the kind of hosting you are on. If you are on shared hosting, you are bound to see a lot of variability depending on the load on the server at the time of the test. One other thing you would want to remember: if you are on shared hosting, if your site has been cached on the host server at the time of running the test, your site will seem to load faster. If it is not in the cache memory, your site may seem slow to load. The tool we use to measure time to first byte is webpagetest.org. There's a lot of performance related data this tool gives you, but right now we are only interested in time to first byte. If you are on shared hosting, like this site is on now, if the time to first byte is too long, more than a second, you would want to run the test a couple more times. So let's measure time to first byte now. Here are the results. This site's time to first byte is more than a second. Let's rerun the test and see whether this number will change. This is the result of the second run. The time to first byte is now a little over a second. Let's run the test a couple more times. This is the result of the third trial. The time to first byte is now a little over 0.8 seconds. Let's run the test again. Now the time is a little over 0.7 seconds. As you can see, with shared hosting, there is always a lot of variability. I ran the test once again and it's now a little over 0.75 seconds. With shared hosting, the time to first byte depends a lot on the load on the server at the time of the test. Also, you can get a lot of information from this waterfall model here. This green bar here is the time to first byte. This one is the time for initial connection, and the first bar here is the time required for the DNS lookup. As you can see, DNS lookup and initial connection are happening very fast here. It's a time to first byte that's taking almost 0.7 seconds. If you see that DNS lookup is taking too much time, you would want to talk to your host and see if you can get them to change your DNS server. But in this case, DNS lookup is not the problem. If DNS lookup is not the problem, then one option would be to upgrade your hosting. You would either want to switch to cloud hosting or to a virtual private server. You would also want to note that these results are for the www version. If I measure these same metrics for the non-www version, the results will be very different. I'll measure the time to first byte for the non-www version now. Here are the results for the non-www version. The time to first byte has gone up very significantly. And if we take a look at the waterfall model, you can see it first tried to access the non-www version, and it spent almost a second trying to access the non-www version. And since we have specified that this should be the canonical URL, the one with the www, it had to go back and fetch the www version. So this was the excess time it required to go from the non-www version to the www version. In this waterfall view, you can also measure how much time each of the various scripts and the images are taking. So if anything is taking up too much time, you would want to see whether you can optimize it in some way.